All right, moving on. Well, the fragile ceasefire between the United States and Iran is once again under massive strain. Fresh American strikes targeted missile launch sites and mine-laying vessels in southern Iran, even as Iranian negotiators landed in Doha for high-stakes peace talks aimed at ending weeks of escalating conflict. According to U.S. Central Command, the strikes were defensive actions meant to protect American forces from Iranian threats and commercial shipping routes near the Strait of Hormuz. But Tehran has slammed the attacks as a gross violation of the ceasefire agreement and warned of retaliation. The development comes at a critical diplomatic moment. Iranian officials are in Qatar pushing for sanctions relief and the release of frozen Iranian assets, while Washington says a broader DEA, including reopening Hormuz shipping lines, could still be reached within days. President Donald Trump has continued to maintain pressure on Tehran, insisting Iran must abandon any nuclear weapon and ambitions to, in fact, have nuclear weapons, even as his administration signals it remains open to negotiations. For now, diplomacy continues, but with bombs falling and threats escalating, the situation in West Asia appears more fragile than ever before. Let's discuss this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Ambassador Suresh Goyal, former diplomat, Major General Sudhakarji, defense and geopolitical expert, Purnima Nath, leader of the Republican Party. She's joining us live from the United States. And last but not the least, Mr. Firoz Bakht Ahmed, Iran affairs expert, is with us on the program as well. Ambassador Goyal, I'll begin with you. Is it, obfuscating and confusing to you as well that just yesterday or day before, Donald Trump had put out this very, benign tweet saying that, something good is about to happen. We are about to strike a deal. But what was struck was an asset of Iran by the United States. How is this diplomatic effort working, sir? Is it like, that old saying that speak softly but carry a big stick?
Thank you very much, Vineet. I think the whole issue is as confusing to you or to me and to Major General Sudhakar, who is present here smiling away. We were talking about this right in the morning today.
He's perhaps smiling about what I said.
Okay. So now, what is happening? I think in my estimate, that there are two or three things. Number one, President Trump is keen to come to an agreement with Iran, but there are two imponderables, or there are two difficulties there. And number one is Israel. What does Israel want? Israel has made it very clear that an agreement between the USA and Iran does not necessarily mean that Israel will actually back away from its own security interests. So essentially what that means is that they may continue to attack Iran, or they may continue to basically take an active interest in their own security issues vis-a-vis Iran, despite any kind of a deal between Iran and the USA. That is number one. Number two, President Trump is a businessman, and he is known to really act in very unexpected and very unpredictable manner. It is not at all unlikely that he might have thought that attacking Iran at this juncture actually might put more pressure on Iran to come to a kind of an understanding with the USA. So he might have simply thought that this will actually put more pressure on Iran. But the fact is that even Iran does want a deal. Iran cannot go on with the war for a very long time. Their assets are also limited. What they need is also a kind of an agreement which shows them a kind of a path to the future. And there are two elements over there. Who will actually own the enriched uranium after the deal? And Straits of Hormuz and the uranium, how will that be linked to reparations to Iran? Because Iran needs money for its own economic development. They have asked for the reparation funds from the USA. Now, they have also asked that the removal of the nuclear material and the Straits of Hormuz must be linked to funds to be released to Iran from the sanctions. Sanctions either through Qatar or through other agencies. USA does not seem to be ready to have any linkage on this issue. Until that happens, till Iran finds that they have got at least something they want, the agreement remains as remote as it was yesterday. Vineet.
General Sudhakarji, what is your analysis? Why is Donald Trump, hiding one fist and punching with the other? This is not how any kind of an agreement will be reached. Perhaps he does not understand that it's just not about Iran and their nuclear aspirations and ambitions anymore. It's about a number of countries, to a large extent India as well, which are reeling and suffering as a result of this geopolitical impediment, sir.
Absolutely, Vinit. Good evening. Thank you for taking me for your show, and my very warm greetings to distinguished co-panelists. I totally agree with what Ambassador Goel has just articulated, but allow me to touch a couple of important ballpark points. First of all, Donald Trump is the same person who had assured the domestic constituency during his election campaign that apart from bringing these two mindless conflicts, one towards the Central Europe, the other one between Hamas and Israel, to an end, he will not trigger or initiate any conflict against any country, especially he will not go to war against Iran. He has made very deliberate statements. If we go back to his articulations and canvassing and campaigning, will come across this end. Despite that, if at all he has been driven to go in for the 12-day conflict last year to 2025, then to the best of my understanding, it was at Netanyahu's prodding, and he went in simply to destroy and decimate the nuclear assets and the enriched uranium. And thereafter he claimed that the enriched uranium has been destroyed. There is nothing left as far as even the telltale marks. He's gone to that extent of words to that effect. After that, what is it that compelled him? Was it for the regime change, or it was for the enriched uranium, or it was for the military objective? So, to long and short is what I'm saying. He started the conflict despite his advisors advising him contrary to the approach, and he still went ahead and commenced the bombing on 28th of February when a diplomatic solution to the problem with Iran was already in hand. The Omanian foreign minister, he was moving from pillar to post to tell people in the world, here is for the first time we have got the best of solution in this particular complex problem. Iran has agreed to virtually everything. So what is the point? What is it that is driving Donald Trump crazy? Is it something that we are unable to see? Some people, Americans, experts, they say, no, he wanted to prove to the Democrats that there is a better agreement that can be done with Iran than that of JCPOA 2015. What was JCPOA? In short, it actually restricted the enrichment of uranium for energy requirement from 3 to 5.56 or 6 percentage of enrichment. Medical science and research and development 20%, and the stockpile was restricted to 250 kgs. And there was no question of 60% or anything. IAEA was the monitoring agency, international agency. That was going good, hunky-dory, till 2018. Abruptly, he comes and pulls back, and he says he will have a greater and better deal. What is the better deal? The Iran was left to the openness of the entire system. They went in for enriching the uranium 60% and more. And the stockpile, some sources say they have crossed 10,000 kgs. Some sources say it is 440 to 480 kgs of enriched uranium. And they also say that the International Atomic Energy Agency, which was actually monitoring all the activities till 11 months back or 10 months back, is no longer in touch with what is happening in Iran. So what is it that compelled him? Regime change, within 40 days he learned that he cannot achieve regime change until unless boots on grounds are there. Therefore, they kept on dithering between one objective to another objective because they didn't have any political nor military objective. Day before yesterday, Marco Rubio came public and said that they have achieved the military objective. of reducing the capability of the proxies, destroying their missile capability, destroying A, B, C, D, and therefore he gave an indication, to the best of my understanding, that perhaps they are preparing for an early exit. Now, is the exit going to be honorable? Is the exit going to be with victory? All the activities which is taking place, to the best of my understanding, is that Iran at no cost will ever give back the Strait of Hormuz on a platter back to its original status. If it does, then it amounts to Iran surrendering before USA and Israel. One. Number two, enriched uranium, there is a provision, a country which is a signatory to NPT, Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, they are entitled to enrich uranium for generation of electricity and power, that is 3 to 5%, and for medical research and scientific developments, it can go up to 20%. And
Okay.
the stockpile
All right,
can
sir.
be up to the restricted level. So
All right,
therefore,
all right, sir. All right, sir. All right. So let me also bring in Mr. Firoz Bakht Ahmed into this conversation. Mr. Firoz Bakht Ahmed, what is Iran likely to do now? You know, in fact, the biggest trouble initially was to get Iran on the table. And another problem, the challenges that the Americans had, was that, you know, Iran was not bending over to the aggression and the superior forces and the muscle flexing that the United States was doing. Somehow, you know, the Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia, managed to get them on the table. But here we are, Donald Trump, you know, on one side talking about a deal, and on the other side, bombing them.
All right. Vinay ji, am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Can you listen to me, Vinay ji?
I can, sir. Go on.
All right. Thank you so much. For a start, you know, let me salute Major General who was speaking before me, a very learned Major General, Sudhakar ji. And also I should thank Goel Saab. Now, these two gentlemen have made my task easy. Now, let me answer your question that you have posed before me. Now, listen to me. You see, you talked about USF flexing her muscles. There is no doubt about it. You know, earlier also, you know the history of US, you know, in almost 1415 in Venezuela, right? In Africa, in so many other places. So they are known to do this thing, and they also did the same thing to Iran. They tried to do the same thing in Iran. However, they came to know that Iran was a tough nut to crack. Now, having said that, let me tell you one thing. So far as this deal is concerned, it is still in a fluid state. We are not certain whether it is going to finally take place or not. I am doubtful, because as far as Iran is concerned, Iran is very upset, you know, twice, and you know, Major General Sudhakar Saab rightly said that twice when Iran was on the table of, you know, just making a deal, and for the first time when Iran said, okay, no uranium at all. At that time, you know, this deal was fighted in June last year when they sent their B-2 bombers to Iran, right? And on 28th of February also. So they also took the life of their supreme commander, that is Ayatollah Khomeini. Such an old man, 86, 90-year-old man who was sitting at his home. He was fasting with his officers. He was discussing all these things, and they killed him, you know. Now, this is something which Iranians are not going to take at any cost.
Right.
They will not give their uranium for last 5 seconds.
Quickly, sir.
Why
Quickly,
should they
we have
give their uranium, right? Who is the USA to boss over that? There are 9 countries, if I am not wrong, that have got these atomic bombs, and nobody has used it, and nobody should, and nobody will, because it's a terrible thing. Usage of atomic bomb by anyone, anywhere, means the end of the world, right?
Right. So we have a paucity of time. I need to bring in Purnima Nath into this conversation as well.
Okay,
Purnima Nath, obviously Donald Trump
Please.
is being criticized and admonished for this war in the United States as well. There was some reprieve in the last few days that things might improve, but Donald Trump has, you know, once again done what he's good at, and that is shock the world.
Only that he's pandering
Purnimaji,
the dark
sorry
many.
sir, that question is for Purnimaji. We have a paucity of time, sir, I apologize. Purnimaji, that question
Right.
is for you.
Right, thank you so much for having me. Namaste, Jai Hind. Vineet, thank you so much. Wonderful conversation. I appreciate all the panelists. Your question is exactly what I was trying to elude for the last 80 plus days, that Donald Trump is I'm sorry to say this in live TV, but this is something that Indian public must hear as well from a American citizen, Indian American citizen. As a Hindu, I take this particular situation quite seriously. Donald Trump, I'm a 3-time supporter of Donald Trump, but what he has done in the last 15 months in the second term, the first year, has been absolutely disgusting and disappointing from a domestic policy perspective, also from an international affair perspective. In here, what he has, his goal was to establish a legacy that in 250th years, nobody lived before him. The entire presidencies of other individuals were so insignificant in front of his eyes. And this is exactly what he was trying to establish. This is why he threw out JCPOA. This is why he constantly insults other leaders, other countries, and in fact, he called India as a dead economy.
All right,
He called
all right,
India as a
Purnimaji, we have a paucity of time, but I understand your feelings and your sentiments. The MAGA base for Donald Trump is eroding. We'll take a short break. Be right back.